Wow, what a turnout today. Incredible that everyone has come together today for the hostages. I want to start by thanking CST and the police for keeping us safe. My amazing team at Stop the Hate will help put this all together in just 7 days. And all our partner organisations for coming on board to advocate for the hostages. What a sight this is. Look around you. Every Jewish denomination, every communal organisation, every walk of life, and so many allies. All united here today with one message. Bring them home!
Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home!
Last weekend we saw yet more evidence of Hamas's brutality. A brutal reminder of their cruelty, of the starvation, the torture, and the 673 endless days they have subjected our people to captivity. The hostages cannot wait. We cannot wait. Time is running out, and the time for action is now. Whilst relatives of British citizens remain in captivity, the government's message should be the same as ours. Let them go. In spite of that, in September, the government plans to recognise a Palestinian state unless Israel meets its demands. Did it put any conditions on Hamas? On the prescribed terrorist organisation that started this war, murdered over 1,200 Israelis and took 250 hostage, 50 of whom have remained there for 673 days. Did it put any conditions on them? No. In doing so, it has rewarded terror and made bringing the hostages home harder. This is more than a mistake, it is appeasement and a betrayal of the hostages and of this nation's moral compass. When Hamas praises government policy, appeasement becomes complicity. And as British Jews, we know more than most, history has taught us the perils of appeasement. That is why today, every strand of our community, every organisation, every religious denomination, every voice has come together, united, to say to this government, and let's say it so that Keir Starmer can hear us, you have got this wrong. Shame. Shame. The hostages must remain a priority. In Judaism, there is no higher mitzvah than saving a life. We are taught that to save a life is to save an entire world. The hostages are not just Israel's children. They are our children, our parents, our brothers and sisters, and our heart is not whole, our world is not complete until every last one of them is home. They must be everyone's priority, here in Israel and all around the world. The innocent civilians, the innocent Israelis taken from their homes or from a music festival and held and starved and tortured for 673 days, still counting. They must be brought home. Today, they have united our community. Not an easy thing to do. When so many forces are driving us apart, and at a time of rising anti-Semitism, it's never been more important to remember both here and in Israel that what binds us together is more important than what divides us, is stronger than what divides us. Ayal Golan, in his song Am Israel Chai, says that the people of Israel live so long as we remember to always remain united. Today we are united. United in a single message that echoes through time, from the Exodus to today. Let our people go! Bring them all home! Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home!
Bring them home!
Bring them home! Now! It is now my great honour to introduce the Chief Rabbi, Sir Ephraim Mervis, the 11th Chief Rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregation of the Commonwealth, to address us.
I would like to thank everyone who is here this afternoon. Right in front of me I see an exceptionally large gathering of people who are here with pain deep in our hearts, demonstrating peacefully, with dignity and within the law. And to all the police officers who are here in such high numbers, on behalf of us all, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for protecting the streets of our capital. And to the wonderful CST as always, thank you very much. 2 months ago when I was in Israel, I met with Talia Horn. Her two brothers-in-law, Yair and Eitan, were cruelly abducted on the 7th of October. Thank God, Yair was released after close to 500 days, but Eitan is still being held captive in a terror tunnel in Gaza. She said to me something I will never forget. She said that soon after Yair was released, he turned to his family and he told them about an occasion when Hamas forced him and his brother Eitan to run for their lives down a long and dangerous tunnel under Gaza. And at one point, Eitan collapsed. He was so hungry, he was so weak. And he motioned to his brother Yair, "You go ahead, leave me here, you survive." But Yair turned around and he lifted up his brother and he said, "Achim anachnu, we are brothers." But then when Yair was released, he turned to his family and he said, now that Eitan is by himself, who is there to lift him up? Who is there to help him and the other hostages? And I believe that our answer has to be, it's all of us. Achim anachnu, we are the brothers and the sisters of every single one of the hostages. And nothing is going to stop us from doing whatever we can to secure their release. They are being held by the wicked Hamas. Hamas is the personification of evil. It's an evil which has brought murder and rape and the taking of hostages into our lives. It is an evil which is inflicting, purposefully, maximum suffering on its own people, placing them in harm's way, preventing them from having humanitarian aid. But unlike Hamas, we do never want to see the suffering of even one single innocent person. Hamas is an evil which just last week broadcast to the world those horrific images of two of the hostages. Please, God, enable them to survive. They looked so awful and so terrible, one being forced to dig his own grave, and in the midst of all of this will only embolden us with resilience to declare, Achim anachnu, we are the brothers and the sisters of every single one of the hostages. Until recently, our government was saying a similar thing. After meeting with families of hostages and former hostages, they were continuously declaring that they would leave no stone unturned in their efforts for and on behalf of every single one of the hostages. However, the government's announcement of 2 weeks ago has dealt a blow to the welfare, the well-being and the lives of every single one of the hostages. Emily Tamari has called out to our government and has said what you are intending to do will not contribute towards a solution. Rather, it will contribute to the continuation of suffering. And Emily added, you are delivering a reward to terror. No wonder that last week one of the senior Hamas leaders thanked our government and said that the UK intention will be one of the fruits of the 7th of October. If a terrorist organization prescribed by the UK government is congratulating the UK government, it means that there is something seriously wrong. And so to our government we turn and we say, how will you ever be able to live with the fact that you would have recognized the Palestinian state, at the head of which is a terrorist organization with a stated intention of destroying the state of Israel and harming Jews right around the world, and all this at a time when the hostages are still languishing in the tunnels of Gaza? The Labour Party, both in opposition and now in government, has had a mantra. They have continuously been saying to UK jury, don't judge us by our words, judge us by our deeds. And to our government we say, right now, this is the time for responsible action. It is not too late. And as for us, Achim Anachnu, we will continue to do whatever we can for the sake of each and every one of the hostages. Am Yisrael Chai! The organizers have asked me to lead you in a brief prayer. Psalm 121. Shir Lamalot. Esai enayin heharim me'ayin yavo esri. Esri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Al yitein lamot raglecha, al yanum el shomerecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomerecha, Adonai tzilecha al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, ve'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorecha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzedcha v'echa, me'ata ve'ad olam. Please join me. Acheinu Kol Beit Yisrael. Acheinu Kol Beit Yisrael. Vanetonim Batzara uvashivya. Odim B'Maya.
Shalom London! I am deeply humbled to invite Ayelet Savitsky, who extended her visit to join us today. Ayelet is the sister of Nadav Popplewell, who was murdered in captivity by Hamas. Her brother Roy was killed on October 7th, and her mother was taken hostage and later released. Please give her a round of applause as she comes up to speak to us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Evyatar. I'm a British Israeli citizen. On October 7, 2023, my brother, Roy Popowell, a British citizen, was murdered near his home on Kibbutz Nivim. My other brother, Nadav Popowell, also a British citizen, was taken hostage. He was murdered by Hamas terrorists in February of 2024, and his body was recovered by the IDF on August of 2024. I buried my brother Nadav alongside Roy. That is not a sentence anyone should ever have to say. My mother, Hannah Perry, was taken hostage by Hamas. She was 79 at the time. She was returned alive in November of 23 during the first ceasefire. She is doing about as well as can be expected for an older person who has seen two of her children murdered and who herself was held hostage. She chose life and she lives. I am neither a politician nor a military strategist. I write novels. And so my take on things is entirely personal. For me, all I can do is to continue to campaign for the release of the 50 hostages still being held. Both those hostages who are alive and those who have been killed. People like Evyatar Or, whose mother Ditsa is British, and who tomorrow will be missing his little sister's wedding, whose girlfriend, Noah Gamani, campaigns around the world to be reunited with him, and Yossi Sharabi, who was killed in January 2024. His extended family is British. Many of you will have heard his brother Eli Sharabi speaking in London and Manchester. This week I joined a meeting with the UK government to continue to press our case that the hostages must be freed before the UK government can recognize the state of Palestine. As I said to the government, to recognize the state without the return of all the hostages is a prize to Hamas for the murder of my two brothers. And that is why I am here today, to remind you all that among the victims of the day of October 7, there were 17 British people murdered and 10 hostages who were taken, who were themselves either British, like my brother Nadav and Emily Damari, or had very close UK connections, a parent, a spouse, or a child. As I say, I am neither a politician nor am I an army general. I am a human being who can see when there is something horribly wrong in the world. The holding of hostages is a war crime, and to hold them and starve them and torture them is horrific. All the hostages must be returned to their homes to be reunited with their families or to be properly buried. I cannot bring Roy or Nadav back to life. But my promise to them and to everyone who has joined us here today is that I will not stop until every one of the hostages is home. And what I ask of you today is that you do not stop either. Keep campaigning. Keep demanding that the British government do more. And please, please keep believing that we will bring them home. Bring them home.
Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home.
One of the songs that kind of had a comeback in Israel. It's called Habaita. It means coming home, go home. And I would like to teach you just this word, Habaita, like bite. And there was a very powerful video clip of a lot of families of the hostages who sang and played in Caesarea and Caesarea. And I would like to sing it to you, and I would like you to join the chorus. The chorus goes, Habaita. So that's only line I want you to join. My wife helped me to translate it. Let's sing you something in English. Now the war has passed, the turmoil breaks a year. What's left behind the past, and in the dark and the fear. The world must stay crying. It has yet Habaita. I'll in Helavi, Mistot Sari. Hayom Do'ech Ve'Sima. It's you. אני שומעת צעדים הביתה, הביתה, עובר איתה כל מה שהובטח לנו מזמן. אבל לא חשבת לפרץ בשבילך שבועה בעזיקים חדים. אני שומעת צעדים. That's you.
I'm honoured to welcome Michael Uyghur, Chief Executive of the Board of Deputies. Friends, thank you for coming out here to support the 50 hostages held captive in Gaza since 7th of October. Again, I want to thank CST and the police for keeping us safe today, a privilege we must never take for granted. Yesterday, the police were forced to arrest nearly 500 people for supporting Palestine Action, whose criminal actions against Jewish charities, businesses and even an RAF base terrorised British Jews and others and rightly led to their ban. I say to the police, you won't have that trouble from us today. We are a law-abiding community whose urgent cry for peace internationally and the release of our hostages from Gaza comes alongside a love for this country and profound respect and adoration for our emergency services. You are the best among us and we thank what you do. If we look at our lives since that awful and murderous day, much has happened. Some of us have moved houses, some have changed jobs, our children have grown, maybe grandchildren have been born. Time has stood still. It's worse than standing still. because our people are suffering abuse and starvation on a daily basis. And that's those who are still alive. We fear that many of those who remain in Gaza have been murdered in captivity and their bodies kept from their families. Now the government here has announced it will recognise Palestinian statehood in September. And they have imposed conditions on one side alone, and not on the side that initiated this awful conflict. We've noticed there are no conditions placed on Hamas. They do not need to stand down. There is no need for Hamas to agree a ceasefire, no need to release a single hostage. In fact, if Hamas resists calls for a ceasefire deal, prolonging the suffering of Israelis and Palestinians alike, they guarantee their recognition by the UK government. How can this further peace? The incentives are all wrong. Hamas source said last weekend the government's statement on Palestine recognition was the fruits of October. Unwittingly, it seems, our own government has emboldened the very organisation our country rightly prescribes as terrorists. We say to the Prime Minister, don't abandon the hostages. We hear the cries of the Israeli public and hostage families when they say the top priority for Israel's government must be to get the hostages home, and we stand in solidarity with them. לכל הישראלים שנמצאים איתנו היום, אוהבים אותנו מישראל, אנחנו בלונדון אוהבים אתכם ועומדים איתכם לאורך כל הדרך הקשה. Despair cannot be a strategy. In the words of the prophet Jeremiah, ויש תקווה לאחריתך נאום אדוני ושבו בנים לגבולם. And there is hope for your future, declares God. Your children shall return to their country. It's all so complicated and yet so simple. Let's drive towards the outcome we all want. The hostages out, Hamas defeated, desperately need aid into Gaza without Hamas stealing it, and substantive moves towards lasting peace and security for Israelis, Palestinians and the wider Middle East. And let me promise you, we at the Board of Deputies will not stop campaigning until every last hostage is out. Whether it's our weekly vigils right here outside Downing Street and outside the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh, whether it's the Adopt a Hostage campaign that so many of your synagogues have taken up, mass rallies like this one, and the national commemoration we are now organising with our partners for the second anniversary on the 7th of October, please God, they'll all be out by then. Whether it's meetings at every level of government, here or abroad, we are with the hostage families until the very last one is home. Bring them home now.
I'm extremely honoured to introduce a friend of the community. We all know him, Adam Ma'anit, to speak. Adam is the cousin of Taki Idan, who was killed in captivity by Hamas. Please, Adam, to the stage.
Shavua Tov, everyone. Friends, brothers and sisters, I stand before you a broken man. My cousin Taki Idan was taken hostage to Gaza after terrorists murdered his firstborn daughter, Mayan, in their home on October 7th. She had just turned 18, the balloons from her party were still up in the house. They forced Gali, Tafi's wife, to unlock her phone so they could live stream the horror, proud of their brutality. It lasted for hours. Clips of Shafa and Yaeli, the children, sobbing and pleading. They were among the first images the world saw. A lot of people know my family from those images, from those videos of the children sobbing uncontrollably because they had just seen their older sister murdered in front of them. They front marched Tafi to Gaza with the blood of his firstborn still all over him. That was the last time we had seen him in person, alive. We fought tooth and nail to bring him home alive. We saw him paraded in Hamas propaganda videos, horrifying, yet proof that he still breathed. It gave us hope, and we continued to fight. We screamed at the sky, but our worst fears came true. Tzachi returned to us in a coffin in February. We buried Tzachi next to our beloved Mayan. You don't move on from that kind of loss. It is etched into your bones. It sears every waking moment. We breathe in grief. We exhale anguish. But we don't have the luxury of self-pity. We pick ourselves up and we fight for the 50 hostages still left in Gaza. One of those hostages is Omri Miran, our neighbor from Nahal Oz. Omri's a husband, a son, a friend. He's gentle, he's loving, he's kind. He's not a bargaining chip. He's a human being, and he must come home to his daughters, Roni and Alma, who miss him deeply, and Dishai and his father, Danny and his brothers. But the world wants to forget the hostages. They've slipped from the headlines. The silence, deafening. They are not just hostage to the terrorist ghouls of Hamas and Islamic Jihad. They're also hostage to the world's indifference. Every moment they remain in chains is a choice by cowardly leaders to look away. We will not look away. We will not be silent. We will not be still. Silence is a sentence. The fastest way to end this nightmare is to free the hostages. I call on the UK government to exert every means at its disposal to exert pressure on Hamas's and Islamic Jihad state benefactors, countries like Qatar and Turkey. I call on them I remind them what moral clarity looks like. There must be no reward for terror. There must be no recognition without release. We couldn't save Tzachi, but Omri still has a chance. For those still alive, every moment counts. We've still seen the haunting images of Evyatar David, emaciated, forced to dig his own grave. A week has gone by and not a single UK newspaper has put that image on its front pages. How many people in the UK know the name Evyatar?
I do.
His mother is British. How many know Ilan Weiss? His cousin lives in Sussex. Guy Gilboa Dalal, Alon Ohel, Yossi Sharabi, brother of Eli, whose brother-in-law Steve reminds us of their humanity. They are us. We are them. We fight for the living. We fight to bury the dead in Eretz Israel with dignity. We fight to make their names known, to not abandon them in Gazan hell tunnels. For my family's part, we are spearheading a class action lawsuit against Meta, the parent company of Facebook, for allowing Hamas to live stream their crimes for hours, boosting their signal to millions, inspiring more terrorists. They must not evade responsibility. Every day that passes is a fresh sentence, not just for the hostages, but for their families, children without bedtime hugs, partners with no shoulders to cry on, parents with no answers. Still, we march, we protest, we speak, we scream. Because the hostages can't, because we owe it to the living and we owe it to the dead. Not next month, not next week, now, until the last hostage. Until the last hostage. Thank you very much. Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you, Adam. It is my great honor to introduce Noor Dari, Noor Dawi is the founder and executive director of Islamic Theology of Counter-Terrorism.
Thank you, Noel.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam alaikum.
Peace and blessings be upon you.
And you.
What a great honor to speak to people with such a great courage and resilience. You survive for 1,000 years. You still survive. You will survive on the day of judgment. Don't be disappointed when you see 100,000 Muslims don't support you, but support Islamist terrorism. But be proudful that Islam supports you. Islam supports your existence in the Holy Land. Islam supports your right to defend your nation. Islam supports your fight against devil. History will remember you as a people who is still against 100,000 Islamists in the street of London. Well, let me tell you one thing. We will not surrender to Islamists. No. I was a part of Islamism. I know how devil ideology it is. We don't have any political ideology here. We just want Israeli children back. Let me send a strong message to our Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, you can't please Hamas. You can't surrender to terrorists. Look, Hamas praise you. Your decision, political decision. We don't support you. You cannot surrender terrorists. Your political ancestors never surrendered to Nazis back in days. You can't surrender to today's Nazis, which is Hamas, Islamists. We want Israeli children back home, alive. Until that, we will never sleep in peace. Thank you very much. I'm Israel Khai.
I'm Israel Khai. Thank you, Noel.
עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל בעליות בירידות ובשעות הכי קשות, הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר, אז מי עלינו יהיה אנחנו נעשה שלום בינינו, שמור עלינו, היא לא רק האמונה. עם ישראל, עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים.
עם ישראל חי,
להיות ביחידות ובשעות הכי קשות, הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי עלינו יהיה לנו עוד מדינה, נעשה שלום בינינו, נשמור עלינו, כי לא אבדה האמונה.
It is my honor to introduce Claudia Mendoza, Chief Executive Officer of the Jewish Leadership Council. Today marks 674 days since October the 7th. 674 days since hundreds were murdered and 250 men, women and children were taken hostage. It has been as long since the Jewish people have felt at peace. Something changed for each and every one of us on that day. As I speak, 50 people are still being held hostage in horrific conditions, and it's believed that over half of them are dead. Their plight is etched in each of our hearts and souls, and we will not rest until each and every one of them is home. This is why the government's plan to recognize a Palestinian state, regardless of whether Hamas releases the hostages, has triggered so much anger. The conditions that have been placed on Israel actively discourages peace. Hamas has no incentive to agree to a ceasefire or release any hostages while this one-sided ultimatum remains in place. Hamas simply needs to keep refusing the ceasefire proposals, and their reward? Recognition. But you don't need to take my word for it. Hamas has welcomed this move, calling it one of the fruits of October the 7th. Let me be clear. This is nothing short of a betrayal of the remaining hostages, including Evyatar, whose mother is a British citizen, and Evyatar David, who was filmed digging his own grave in a sickening Hamas propaganda video. Both men were abducted from the Nova Music Festival. We know the situation in Gaza is extremely complex and dangerous for both residents and hostages, and we share the government's hope that the suffering on all sides of this conflict will end soon. But the Prime Minister's decision to recognise a Palestinian state emboldens Hamas and the extremist elements of British society who celebrate, justify and belittle the atrocities of October the 7th. All of us know that these extremists will never be satisfied and will continue to push the government to take increasingly radical action against Israel to the detriment of peace. They will be happy only when Israel ceases to exist, and we should not be bending to their demands. This decision was a U-turn. Labour's 2024 election manifesto promised only to recognise a Palestinian state as a contribution to a two-state solution. The government's vital support for our community security is enormously appreciated. It's what allows us to go about our daily lives as Jews. But we must see more effort to understand and address why anti-Semites are emboldened in modern Britain. Until then, none of us, not just Jews, will ever truly be safe. Today, as we gather here outside Downing Street, let's be clear about the message we wish to deliver. Prime Minister, please do not give credence to violent extremism abroad or at home. Please do everything in your power to secure the safe return of every hostage. Time is running out. Amen. We must and we will continue to fight for them. Bring them home now.
It is a real honor to introduce an incredible friend and ally. Pastor Bo Ace, part of CAAA, missionary to Kenya and Christian leader in the UK for over 30 years. She's also from the Ngāpuhi tribe of Northland of New Zealand. Bo.
about hiding hostages in underground labyrinths, torturing and dehumanizing them with wicked indifference and glee, should have tipped the world to the villain of the piece. But to the shame of many, it has not. And this is reprehensible. To suggest that terrorists should be rewarded with statehood is as disgraceful as it is shameful. To the hostages and to their families, I want to say, you are not alone! Your pain matters to us. Hostage families, your loved ones are important, as is the well-being and healing of those hostages already released, and the ongoing need for proper and humane care for those still held in captive. We validate your need to have your loved ones returned. We call out every bit of filthy rhetoric that would justify the taking and ransom of civilians. We have wept at the brutality hostages have endured and still suffer. We rail at the cruelty of their captivity and the depravity of their captors. Jews, Israel, hostages, and hostage families, we stand with you. We stand with you to see the return and the release of every captive. We have hostage postages in our church. We will not look away.
Thank you.
We will not ignore. We will not be indifferent. And we will not be silent. I and others I know write the name of a hostage on our hand to remind us to pray for them and their families every day. I'm not virtue signalling to you, but I know that the concrete tunnels of Gaza and the ancient sands of that land cannot keep the power of Hashem from bringing your people home. Zev Behrman, I'll pray for you and I'll pray for your families every day until you're released or return to the last man. It seems the least we can do. We are with you together in this. When the 28th Maori Battalion marched onto the battlefields of World War II, they encouraged one another with this saying, Kia kaha, stay strong. Kia maya, be brave. Kia manawanui, stay steadfast. And I say this to the hostages and their families. Kia kaha e kare. Be strong, beloved friends. You are not alone. Kia maya e kare. Be brave, dear friends. You are not forgotten. Kia manawanui e kare. Release is coming. Stay hopeful, stay steadfast, strong, brave, and steadfast. Am Israel High.
Am Israel High.
Israel live.
I'm honored to introduce Rabbi Charlie Baginski and Rabbi Josh Levy, co-leaders of the Unified Progressive Judaism Movement.
On October the 7th, 2023, Hamas unleashed horror on Israel and on all the Jews of the world. They murdered, burned and kidnapped, shattering lives and shattering peace. The responsibility for this war and for the agony it has brought lies with them. And still today they hold 50 hostages, living and dead. These are not statistics. They are mothers and fathers, children and grandparents. They have names, faces, birthdays missed, embraces delayed, and tragically funerals delayed too. They must come home. There is no higher priority for us. And this is why we stand here as one united Jewish community today. With all of our difference that we hold between us, we demand together that the hostages are brought home. This is an issue that belongs to all of us, and we stand in solidarity against Hamas and all who wish to destroy Jews and the Jewish state.
Last night, tens of thousands of Israeli Jews gathered on the streets to protest for the release of the hostages. They protested against Hamas. They protested against policies and rhetoric that doesn't allow the hostages to come home. And we must be brave and honest enough to do so. Rhetoric like this does lasting damage to Israel. With those protesting in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem and across Israel, we call for an end to this war through a deal that brings the hostages home and the permanent restoration of humanitarian aid to Gaza.
Let us be clear about Palestinian statehood. The Palestinian people, like us, have the right to self-determination. But how it is done matters too. We reject a methodology that tries to force this future through violence, terror and the suffering of civilians. Statehood cannot be built on the blood of innocents, and peace will never grow from the soil of pain and hatred.
We say this because we affirm our common humanity. We mourn for those who were murdered on October the 7th, for the soldiers who are fallen, for innocent civilians whose lives have been lost. Every life.
Get off the stage! Get off the stage! Get off the stage! Let them speak! 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 Let them speak!
It is my honour to invite Lord Pollack, President of the Conservative Friends of Israel, to speak.
Well, that was interesting. Despite the noise, we know that Israel wants one thing more than anything: to live in peace with dignity. Today is about dignity and the ultimate human right to live in dignity. All people deserve that right. And today we've come to call for that dignity to be extended to all peoples of the region. It is well known that Hamas deny that dignity to the Palestinian people in Gaza. And you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to the words of the Arab League. They signed a declaration a couple of weeks ago condemning Hamas's onslaught, calling on Hamas to release the hostages and disarm and end its rule of Gaza. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to support the Arab League in this statement. We should all take some comfort that it is clearly understood that Hamas and Hamas alone is responsible for the untold suffering in Gaza. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to remind the world and the occupiers of 10 Downing Street that the untold suffering in Gaza is the 49 precious souls languishing, chained, and as we have seen, starved by Hamas. Now, whilst many in the United Nations and across the West and in the media seem to forget, we will never forget. We will call for their freedom all day and every day until they are home. And we say to the Prime Minister and the government, not just that they should call for their freedom, insist on their freedom. Sadly, in our topsy-turvy world, Western governments, other than the honourable exception of the United States of America, spend more time and more energy condemning Israel than urging those holding the hostages to set them free and end this war. But ladies and gentlemen, it is the words of the family members that are so important. And to conclude, I want to share the words of the courageous Dietza Or, mother of Evyatar, who, like others, is spending his 674th day in the depths of Gaza. I told her about the rally, and I asked her what she would like me to say in her name. And I said this, listen carefully over there. She said, recognition of a Palestinian state is a reward for the murder gang known as Hamas. She went on to say, such a move significantly strengthens them. And immediately following this, Hamas announced it would only release the hostages after a Palestinian state is established with Jerusalem as its capital. Thus, she said, the recognition of a Palestinian state by European countries greatly distances the chances of my Evyatar being freed and seeing the light of day. And ladies and gentlemen, she ended, shame on the British government for their hypocrisy.
Final words from Natasha Hausdorff, barrister and legal director of the UK Lawyers for Israel Charitable Trust.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It means so much to see so many of you here, from the community and from our allies. Friends, we are coming together in troubled times to send a singular message to the government of this country and to the Prime Minister that they are actively harming the chances of us being able to bring the hostages home. The shameful rhetoric that has encouraged this action, some of which was heard unfortunately earlier on, but you, ladies and gentlemen, told them exactly what you think of them. Use that energy, that power,
Tell them what the reality is. And let's listen to Hamas when they thank members of the international community for recognizing a so-called Palestinian state. This government that pretends to prize international law, look how readily it threw out of the window the Montevideo Convention, customary international law, to be able to pursue its agenda against the only Jewish state. Shame on them. But with your voices ringing out as they are today, 674 days after Hamas committed this brutal atrocities of the 7th of October, 674 days those hostages have remained in Hamas captivity. And we say, let them go to Hamas. That is the message that this government and every government around the world that believes in human rights, justice, and wishes to combat internationally prescribed terrorist organizations, that is the message that they need to be shouting from the rooftops in words and in deed. So let them hear it. Let them go.
Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go.
And each and every one of you, in addition to coming here today, has the power to convey that message and letters to your members of parliament, in contributions to the media and conversations around the dinner table. Don't let Hamas get away with these victories through propaganda warfare and spreading blood libels against the Jewish state. Even if some members of the community have started to believe them, let them know how wrong they are. I was very privileged for Yom HaZikaron to be in Israel and to attend the service on Ammunition Hill. A learned rabbi indicated that while the Jewish people may be the smallest nation in the world, they are the largest family. Never was that more strongly felt than on the 7th of October and in the 674 days subsequently, when our family members have been kept in brutal Hamas captivity and tortured by their captors. So in the words of Moses to Pharaoh, Shalach et ami, let my people go.
Thank you, Natasha. My name is Chaya Langerman, and I volunteer with the Hostages and Missing Families Forum here in the UK. As we prepare to conclude this vigil, I want to leave you with one clear message. This cannot end here. Today, we stood together to honor the strength of our hostages, to support the families, and to demand their immediate and unconditional release. We've heard the names and stories, and we felt the urgency. Now we must turn that urgency into action. Each of us has a role to play. Speak out, keep the pressure on, share the stories, talk to your leaders, don't wait for others to act. Do what you can. Eli Sharabi wrote in his book, Kidnapped, when you are held captive, every moment is a fight for life. Every breath is a small victory. Freedom is not a luxury. It is a fundamental human right. Even when the world looks away, we must remember and keep fighting, because only through remembrance and action can we bring them home. And to the hostages' families, we promise you this: we will not stop standing up, speaking out, and fighting with everything we have until every one of them is home. This vigil may be her ending, but our commitment will carry on. Stay loud, stay present, and stay committed. Let them go and bring them home. And finally, we can't finish it today without thanking some important people. Firstly, thanks to all of you who showed up here today and made today possible. To all our speakers for your powerful words, to CST and police for keeping us safe, to Yuval Chafkin for your beautiful music, to our stewards, photographers, volunteers, we are deeply grateful. To Stop the Hate, the Hostage Forum, and all our partner organizations, thank you for standing together in this urgent call for freedom. May we continue united until they are home. And now please join me all for Atikva.
עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשארת להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל חי, בעליות בירידות, שעות הכי קשות, עשת אותנו כשומר עלינו, יבוא עלינו, כי אין לנו עוד מדינה. נעשה שלום בינינו, או על ידינו, כי לא